I was just struck by how the Black middle class is seen in African American culture. Either they're touted as the saviors of the Black community, or as the scourge of the Black community. And so I'm like, well, the truth is somewhere in between.
Hello and welcome to The New Conversation. I'm Dwight McBride, president of the New School, and I'm so excited to continue season 3 of The New Conversation, a series where I converse with distinguished thinkers, creators, and doers about their work, their life experience, and their perspectives on some of the most pressing issues of our time. Today's guest is Dr. Lisa B. Thompson, a gifted playwright, author, and scholar. She is the Patton Professor of African and African Diaspora Studies at the University of Texas at Austin. In addition to being the author of Beyond the Black Lady, Sexuality and the New African American Middle Class, she also has published 4 plays, including The Mamalogues, Underground, Monroe, and Single Black Female. And this year, she's also a Presidential Visiting Scholar here at the New School. Thank you so much for being here with me today, my friend.
I'm so happy to be here.
So listen, I want to dive right in. We've got a lot to cover today. So my first question is, how and when did you know that you first wanted to be a dramatist, playwright, and a scholar?
A little bit of a long answer. I'll try to do the short version. One is I've always wanted to be a writer. So as a little girl, my brother and I, rainy day in San Francisco, decided let's write stories. And that's what it began. And so I would always surprise people when they asked me, what do you want to be a little girl? I'd be like, I want to be a writer. They're like, okay, this one's serious. And because I came from a working class family, it was always intent upon having a profession that was going to allow me to not be a starving artist. So I pursued English major and was thinking about ways in which to have a professional life but also be an artist. And then while I was a graduate student at Stanford, I decided to take this playwriting class with Shireen Moraga, the icon, the legend. And in that class, I saw how much I loved being a playwright, and also she invited me to join a professional playwriting group in San Francisco, and I thought, oh my goodness. And from that, became things I was writing in that group, became Single Black Female, and there was a reading of Works in Progress, and I was telling people, I can't participate in that. I'm doing my doctoral examinations at Stanford University. I mean, come on. I should give credit to Valerie Smith, who said, I don't know if I should pursue a doctorate or if I should go into being an artist, and she said, just do both, and tried it on her way, and I'm like, that's insane. But what I tell my students now is, what's for you is for you, and it will unfold. So
Absolutely.
Now I think the term artist scholar is what I embrace.
Well, tell me this. I mean, it sounds like you came to this realization about wanting to be a writer very early on. Was there ever anything you thought you might be before that?
No, because I was in probably 3rd grade.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I was like,
really early on.
Yes,
Yeah.
I still have those stories. I was writing a novel in 4th grade.
I love it.
Yeah,
Well, tell me this. Are there influences, people who helped you to chart that identity of artist scholar, people that you looked to, or did those things sort of happen on parallel tracks for you in terms of influences?
That's a great
Tell
question.
me a little bit about that.
Because I think a lot of people don't realize that there's so many Black artist scholars that we can really model ourselves after. But I did not think of it that way. It was more finding out, I guess, when Omi Jones had a performance piece called Sister Doctor. She talks about being, this Black woman who's into performance, does performance, and is a PhD, and has a show about that, and that was interesting to me. But I saw people in these roles, E. Patrick Johnson, and these are contemporaries, right? And came before me, Guthrie Ramsey, and I started to formulate my own idea about what that was and started writing about it and talking about it. I did something for Black Academics TV about being an artist scholar, and there's a lovely PBS did a short thing on me in Austin about those 2 worlds, and so I think that helped me. And now I created a database. I'm working on Black artist scholars that both living and past. So because the past, I call them the ancestors. So you're talking about Toni Morrison, Du Bois, Baraka, folks who were, both having their work being vetted by professionals, both as artistic work as well as their scholarly work.
Well, speaking of public events and speaking of Guthrie Ramsey, you just this year are a presidential visiting scholar here with us at the New School. You just did a fabulous collaboration and program with Guthrie here at the New School that showed a side of you that I had not seen before as a songwriter as well. Just a beautiful evening. I mean, literally people cried, people laughed, people cheered. It was a fabulous evening, one of the best I've seen. I want to ask you about another collaboration that you also have been involved in recently, and that is your directorial debut with Coleman Domingo and his new play, Dot. Coleman, of course, as you know, was a guest on this program last season, and we had a wonderful
Emmy Award
time.
winner, Coleman Domingo.
Emmy Award winner now, Coleman Domingo.
And it's a beautiful play, Dot, about a family dealing with a mother's dementia, and it's inspired by the experiences of several of his friends, including my own experience. And when I let people know about this play in Austin, and they were like, we want to direct it, the Ground Floor Theater in Austin. And I said, do you want to direct? And I said, and then learning how to do my Shonda Rhimes Year of Yes, and I said, yes, I want to direct it. And because of Coleman's intervention, we were able to get the play in Austin, and it was really amazing to be able to start directing with a piece that was inspired partly by my family, but also written by someone who, the first person that directed my play, Single Black Female in San Francisco. So it was a kind of a narrative elegance to the whole thing. And I think every playwright should try to step into different shoes and spend time with different parts of the theater making process so you understand what everyone's doing.
I got to see the play in San Francisco, and it is a beautiful, beautiful piece, really.
Yes.
So, one of the big themes in your work is the influence of family, and your family in particular is one of the things that you draw from.
I think I have curiosity about a lot of things, and one of them was really a major one because I think the biggest narrative about Black folk is about location and region, and the East Coast and the South and the Midwest have the biggest footprint around that, right? And I would say the Midwest, not the Midwest of Morrison and Wilson, who did what I think I'm trying to do, is insert our stories, Black Californians, the West Coast, more prominently in our notions of what it means to be Black and the Black experience. So my family's migrated from, both my parents migrated from Louisiana, my mother from Monroe, my dad from Lake Charles, and they met in California and married. And I was always curious about, what was my family thinking about? Like, everyone was going to Detroit, Chicago, New York, DC. They're like, no, San Francisco, that's where we're going. And I was fascinated by that decision, and so mining that in my work with I have now a trilogy of the Great Migration plays about the migration from the South to the West Coast.
So one of the other big themes for you, both your scholarly work and your artistic work, is around the Black middle class, right? And you wrote a book, a scholarly book about Black middle class women and their representations. Tell me what that fascination with Black middle class identity for you, why that's important in your work.
I really started to hone in on it when I was doing my dissertation, thinking about the way in which I was struck by how the Black middle class is seen in African American culture from from the Harlem Renaissance to the present even. This idea that either they're touted as the saviors of the Black community or as the scourge of the Black community. And so I'm like, well, the truth is somewhere in between, and I'm fascinated to see that. And also, I became aware of the Black middle class really when I started in college and met another Black girl that was from the same city that I was, but lived in a whole different world, who had, I remember being struck by the fact that she had a Laura Ashley comforter.
Oh my God,
and
I haven't thought about
pillow
Laura Ashley
sham.
in ages.
And
Yeah.
and in matching, there was a matching wallpaper for her bulletin board in the dorm room and cover for her lights. And I was just like, I was so happy I just got a new bedspread because I didn't even know what a pillow. And in fact, we grew up in the same. And San Francisco is very small. A lot of people don't realize that. It's not a huge city.
Yeah.
And I literally lived on the other side of the tracks. Also realizing that they didn't have this perfect, amazing life, and they also weren't the horror. But yeah, so it is a through line, and I think that under examined. And if we think about what happens to them and how they experience the world, if those who somewhat have more privilege are experiencing awful racial injustice, then what do we think of those who have less?
One of the things, and I think this comes out of the work with the Black middle class, and also sometimes the paucity of the representations that I saw your work kind of addressing. But you also talk sometimes about the unintelligibility, right, of your identity, your work, of being a successful, highly educated, single Black mom, that it puts you in a very unique place. So how do you deal with navigating those roles?
That's been such a wild part. I think it really came into great relief when I became a parent. Mm-hmm. And so my play, the Mamalogues, was the place to put all of that frustration and angst.
Beautiful play.
Thank you. It's and I'm so happy people really taken to it. That's interesting because I'm so unintelligible when I'm around other single mothers who aren't as resourced. So I try to be a resource for them. I'm also sometimes unintelligible, or maybe too intelligible perhaps, among the Black middle class who are married and coupled and heterosexual. So like, what are we going to do with her? She's, free woman. We do with that. And then trying to navigate the professionally, trying to make my colleagues understand, being at a meeting at X time means I'm going to not be able to take my son to school, and that's an important thing to me. But also, I would say in both my worlds, so dealing with theaters and saying I need to have a place for when he was young, my child to be, for rehearsal or something like that. So it's a challenging thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of your child, you, of course, your mother, who I had the privilege of knowing when she was with us, you think a lot about and write a lot about the sort of intergenerational shifts in work and trying to break down some of those silos. Why is that important to you?
One thing, I remember being in college, the first year or second year in college, I thought, it's odd to be in an environment where everybody's your same age.
Interesting.
And I find that really disturbing because to me, and I say this to my friends all the time now, if you don't talk to people that are 20 years younger than you and 20 years older than you in the same week, then you're not talking to the world.
Yeah.
It's like you need to see the world through all those eyes. Mm-hmm. Actually helped my niece arrange an ASA panel coming up with intergenerational conversation between Black feminists, because I noticed my former graduate student was saying that Black women need to relearn this thing about how the academy treats them, and I'm like, well, we didn't forget, so let's have a conversation, make sure that everybody knows what this profession is about and how to navigate in ways that allow you to flourish.
And how does that influence your artistic practice, your work as well?
I was lucky enough, like when we had the event here a few weeks ago, a young woman that I worked with in Austin is now in New York, an amazing performer, Taji Senior, and I immediately reached out to her to perform in the piece.
Yeah, she was brilliant.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's so I always, when my students, wasn't a student of mine, but she's in that age bracket. But my former students, graduate students and undergraduates, when they graduate, I said, welcome to, I'm Lisa, and now you're one of my mentors. Mm-hmm.
So you are also a professor, an endowed chair at the University of Texas at Austin. How do you bring the themes that show up in your work as an artist, in your plays, how do you bring that into the classroom, right?
Being a professor is, I wish I had understood this when I was younger, thinking, I want to teach. Because it's such a wonderful way to give other people what I took liberty with. In my classes, my students have the option of doing a creative work inspired by the intellectual questions we're talking about. They have to also write an essay and have a bibliography so it's not just my feelings about this piece, but they actually have to be grounded in the work we're doing in the class. And I've been just fascinated by all the things that it presented me with, from zines to graphic novels, short videos, and films, and songs. It's been exquisite to see them have the freedom to express themselves in other ways. I also teach a Staging Black Feminism class, which I had students also really find out how the gumbo is made and have them be part of, witness a stage reading. Brian, director, Shirley Jo Finney. So they get to, and they also have a separate class time to meet with my creative partners to hear about our collaborations and how they unfold. It's scary, it's risky to share that, but it's also the best. They're the best audience. They know it's the pulse of the world. Graduate students are the best in that way. So,
but what I love about that is it also because art makes you have to be vulnerable, right? To put anything creative out into the world, it encourages a kind of vulnerability. That's what I like most about it, and it feels different from writing a scholarly essay, because there is something about scholarly language, right, that gives you that distance.
Absolutely.
Right, that critical distance.
Yes, the critical eye.
Tell me about what's on the horizon. What are you working on now? What are you excited about? What's next?
So in terms of scholarship, I'm working on an edited collection of interviews of Lyndon Nottage.
Oh, wonderful.
So, for University of Mississippi Press. I'm working on a academic book, a scholarly book about contemporary African-American playwrights and how they are representing history through a Black feminist lens. So I wanted to shine a light on these people who I adore and also admire and inspired by. And then the creative hat, I'm working on the Black Feminist Guide to the Human Body, which is about what it's like to live and grow old in a Black woman's body. It's a love letter to my younger self, but also to Black women all over, and including my trans sisters. I knew it had to be a piece that incorporated music and movement. I cried. That was the first time I heard it. It was completely. It was
so moving. It was incredibly moving.
I can't, and so I don't know if I'm going to actually perform in it. It's still up in the air. It's going to have its world premiere at the Fusebox Festival in Austin. It's been supported by the National Performance Network. So it's been wonderful to have a piece where I support it from soup to nuts, from the beginning to the end, while not just cooking the gumbo, but helping shop for the gumbo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And all that. So it's been lovely. So that's going to premiere in April 2024. And there's talks for the premieres of both Gold and Flood. And that's all I'm going to share at this point. But I have a lot of wonderful projects, and I just feel I wake up in the morning like excited. And I wish I had a team to help me get it all done.
Well, that excitement certainly comes through. For those of you who don't have the chance to experience Lisa live and in person, the excitement about not only her work, but how she really infuses that into everything she does, it really does come through in person. So thank you for being with us today. I want to end with one question for our students. And that is, what advice do you have for young people today, young artists who are making their way, young scholar artists who are making their way? What advice do you have for them?
The first thing is to really be clear about your authentic voice and know that it's going to take time to find out what that voice is. And spend the time with the craft. But the most important thing for me has been treat it as a playground and make art, make scholarship with your friends. So my advice is to don't worry about getting Oprah's attention, Shonda Rhimes' attention, or level up with your friends. Steel will sharpen steel.
Absolutely.
And then when it's 20, 30 years later, you know who you can depend on.
It's so amazing right now to look around. You think about the people we came up with and what they're doing now. Like, wow, I mean, we're running things now, right? It's amazing. It's a little scary, right?
Call security. You have a situation. But run off with the friends that you have and make stuff. Make the stuff you love.
I am thrilled to have you here. I'm thrilled to have you as one of the people in my friendship group and circle. And thank you for being here today with us to do this incredible interview. Thank you.